Craig, can we do a national anthem mic check? Are you ready for that? Yes? Okay. I'll keep this back here for you. I'll hand it to you, and then, of course. I love the purple hair, by the way.
Thank you, I just did.
I was hoping it would help before.
Oh, okay.
It's also for like pops and voice, but if it's not that close. Okay.
And this is much better than me trying to sing it. This is our national anthem. Senior at El Dorado.
Made it to your senior year. That's awesome.
Yes, I did.
We have somebody going back further. Does she need to do it herself?
She wants me to do it herself.
It's hot. Do you hear how hot that is?
Yeah, it's-
Okay, I'm gonna go in.
David, are we ready? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, yet prove through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
We're going to keep her on this microphone. Craig, are we good up there? Perfect.
Because we can't prop it on a stand. Videos? Yeah.
He wants a video.
Yeah, Sarah wanted a video of us, but there's no one to take video.
Yeah, just say there's no one.
Yeah, I got you. Where are you going to set it up? Huh?
Cup holder on the wagon.
Then you take it with your phone.
Yeah, just take a video over there.
My camera won't do it because my camera's broken.
You guys ready? I think Donald was just gonna start. No. Just me and you.
Alright.
We're just gonna start Donald and then you just come in at the end of the first chorus. It'll end and then we hit solo, and then you're solo, and then we play one more time and end.
Can I take one chorus instead of two?
Yeah, that's fine.
Alright, cool. Because I look you want to play the fun. So you guys will play the chord and the main melody and I'll come in after that?
Yeah.
Doesn't the guy have to give us
Yeah, he gave us a thumbs up. One, two, one.
step.
And then up a half step and then down a half step.
Wait, it's gonna take me a little bit to lock into the groove, like make something up, like just like I was rehearsing.
Yeah.
Would you end on? B and B flat. Trust. I did it in like 3 octaves. Yeah, I don't have that much room. Oh, you did it in 3 octaves. I did it like this.
Probably last song like 2 or 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the third annual State of the District. We are so glad that you're here. I am Dior Montoya from Sandia High School, and I'll be your host today. We've got a lot lined up for you. Let's give it up for the amazing music from El Dorado High School Band that welcomed everyone as we enter today. At this time, please stand for the national anthem. Today, the anthem is being performed by Genesis Mitchell, a senior from El Dorado High School, and today's colors are presented by the Cibola High School Marine Corps JROTC. Carrying the American flag is the Color Guard Commander, Cadet Luke Benally. Carrying the Marine Corps flag is Cadet Leroy Vigil. The right rifle is Cadet Johnny Dyke, and the left rifle is Cadet Caleb Ajo.
say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Genesis, and thank you to the Cibola ROTC program for the presentation of colors. This event is about taking a look at what's been happening in APS under the leadership of our superintendent, Dr. Gabriela Duran Blakey, and getting a peek at what's to come for students, families, and our schools. We'll celebrate the progress we've made, be real about the challenges we still face, and hear about the plans that will help make APS even better. To kick things off, I'd like to introduce someone who has been working hard to make sure our schools are moving in the right direction. Board President Ronalda Guarito.
Let everybody take a pause. You all made it here. Those who need to be here should be here. And I'm always grateful when I see smiling faces and know that you all are here safely. And I just want to say good afternoon for those of you who did make it. And for those of you who don't know, I'm Ronaldo Tomorito Dene. My clans, Hushklishni Mud Clan on my mother's side, who is here tonight, listen to Harrison. My father will be here any moment, and many of you know I speak about him quite a bit. He's 93 years old, so he'll be in here a moment, former vet. And my clan for my father is Noshosha Dene, and I'm proud to be Dene. I'm from Crown Point, New Mexico, and the land of the Navajo Nation. I'd like to welcome you to Albuquerque Public Schools 2026 State of the District. On behalf of the Board of Education, thank you for being here and for the part each of you play in supporting our students, our families, and our schools. Since January, I have had the privilege of serving as president of the Board of Education, and in that role, I take that responsibility very seriously. For me, keeping students at the center of our work means asking the hard questions, listening to the different perspectives, looking honestly at the data, and making sure that the decisions we make are focused on better outcomes and greater opportunities for every student. But none of us work alone, and I'm sure you all know that. When I look around this room, I see educators and school leaders, families, community and business partners, higher education leaders, and local and state elected officials. All of you have a role in the success of our students. Each of you brings something important to the work of educating our children. The one thing my mom has always said, if you want to bring success to a child, bring the parents in. I'd like to take a moment to recognize any elected officials if they're here with us today. If you want to stand, we can acknowledge you. All right, there we go. Thank you for being here. And most importantly, I want to recognize my team, and that's my fellow board members. Please stand, Rebecca Betson, Courtney Jackson, Janelle Astorga, and Jason Martinez. Heather's not here, Heather Benavides, and also Warigia Bowman. Thank you guys for being here tonight. They partner with me, and we do a lot of important work, but I just want to thank them for their hard work and for not only their service, but just for being there. And I'd like to thank the most important people who we continually support our students and our schools, and that's our teachers. Would you please stand? Next, our staff. Would you please stand? Thank you. And as a board, we spend a great deal of time thinking about what students are learning, their experiences, what experiences they are having in school, and whether we are preparing them well for what comes next. Sometimes we have to ask those difficult questions, and we look closely at the data, but we also have to remember that behind every number is a student. Behind every percentage is a child whose opportunities can be affected by the decisions we make. We have to listen to our families, educators, communities, tribal leaders, parents, and most importantly, we have to listen to our students. In fact, listening is where much of our work begins. And many of you know that has been one of the areas where we're trying to get deeper into those listening conversations. And especially this coming year, we have some new goals and guardrails to start boosting on up, and we're gonna need your help. So a few years ago, and that's something I just wanted to stress, is that we're gonna ask our community to be part of this huge endeavor that we need to take on in 2027. What do we want our children to know and be able to do? What we have heard helps shape the goals that guide APS today. We want our youngest students to become strong readers. Can you guys all say we? Want our youngest students to become strong and to be able to be strong in math. We want our graduates to leave us prepared for college, careers, and life. And we want every student to develop the skills, habits, and mindsets they will need to navigate whatever comes next. Those goals are very important when words on a strategic plan. They represent our responsibility to our students. The district then built a strategic plan around those goals that are helping us every day in the classrooms and schools and in relationships with our educators, built with students. It is easy, particularly at the board level, to talk about goals and strategies and data. But I never want us to lose sight of the reason we are having those conversations in the first place. Every number represents a student. When I became board president, and I mentioned that to many of our incoming board members, we got to humanize this. We got to remember the numbers of kids that are behind this and the parents that are working tirelessly, that we should better not only educate, but have those relationships with those people who are strongly supporting us in what they do. They may be busy, but that doesn't mean they don't care. That means exactly the opposite. They care about everything their child is going through. As a disability advocate and the many families I used to see, it was one of those things that I was very concerned about when a parent would come to me crying and was thinking that their child was not going to be able to read, not be able to graduate. But I said, no, but you know what? It takes you, understanding special education, your procedural safeguard rights, your understanding the education process, you can also make it happen in partnership with educators. That's why we have federal and state requirements. It's a part of all of us to learn what those are so we can support one another. I'm trying to move these pages, but they're sticking. And that is why we have to willingly look honestly at where we are. Celebrate where we are making progress and to be honest about where we still have the work to do. Today gives us that opportunity. Many times I feel that, even as board president, that my stories, and many of the staff here knows my stories and how I share them on At a Glance, that all of our lives and our pathways, our experiences and who we are all teachers. We all have our narratives, but we have to take the time to share them, especially with the young students, the young children in our homes. They can't do it alone. And hopefully, as the adults in this room, take a time to pause, breathe, just as I ask you to do here, because when you get in that space, you recognize, I do have this mind, I do have the ability, and the path I walk and why I am here today is because I have the ability to touch someone and bring happiness and joy to that life. But I also ask you to do that for a child. We have to get to the point where we realize we are protectors of the children, especially in our classrooms. So in that little realm of thinking about our students, I think about the ideas that we are exploring, the opportunities they are discovering, the challenges they are overcoming, and the futures they are beginning to imagine for themselves. The one thing I would never want a student to recognize is that they're not getting a good education. I grew up on the reservation, and I knew I wasn't getting the best education. But we never want a child to feel that and know that. So we got work to do, but at the same time, I think that right now, there's no better person to at least give us their story. And the young man who I'm going to introduce you to is Harry Newcomb, is a graduate of Atrisco Heritage Academy. And I've had the privilege of serving with Harry on the APS Education Foundation Board of Directors, where I came to wonder why. I said, wow, this guy's young, and he's in accounting, and he was helping the treasurer. I go, whoa. And I ran into him at the golf tournament. I go, Harry, how old are you? And he said, I'm just, junior? No, your second year in college, is that correct? Freshman, he's a freshman. But I just want him to share the story and his journey and what he's done because he's very amazing. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. When we say the future of Albuquerque depends on the students sitting in APS classrooms, we're talking about more than an education. We're talking about the young people who will shape our neighborhoods, strengthen our economy, and lead our city for generations to come. Just a few months ago, I was one of those students. I graduated from Atrisco Heritage Academy as valedictorian, but I would not be standing here today without the educators who saw potential in me and encouraged me to pursue opportunities I never saw for myself. Two of those educators were Miss Jalen McGee and Miss Tanya Critchfield. Miss McGee, my counselor and track coach, encouraged me to step into leadership and pursue opportunities beyond the classroom, including representing APS students on the APS Education Foundation Board. Ms. Critchfield, My AP World History teacher demonstrated that same investment by believing in me and advocating for me, helping me secure an internship at Patillo Brown and Hill LLP, a CPA firm, at just 16 years old, an opportunity that helped shape my future. Those experiences taught me something very important. A student's success is never achieved alone. Every teacher, counselor, coach, mentor, and adult who invests in a student is also investing in the future of our community. This fall, I am attending the University of New Mexico as a presidential scholar, studying business with concentrations in finance and accounting with the goal of becoming a tax and environmental attorney. But this isn't just my story. It is an example of what is possible when a community believes in its students. Every day, tens of thousands of students sit in APS classrooms with talents waiting to be discovered and potential waiting for someone to see it. Tonight, I stand before you because APS invested in me. Now it is my responsibility to carry that same investment forward. If the future of Albuquerque truly depends on the students sitting in APS classrooms, then our responsibility is clear. We must continue believing in them, and we must continue investing in them, because somewhere in an APS classroom today is another future teacher, another entrepreneur, another scientist, and another student who simply needs someone to believe in them. I know because I was that student. Thank you. I've had the privilege of seeing that same commitment firsthand through my work on the APS Education Foundation Board alongside Dr. Gabriella Duran-Blakey. Her dedication to creating opportunities for APS students reflects the same belief that shaped my own journey, that when we invest in students, we invest in our community. It is my honor to introduce a leader who is committed to that same future, Superintendent Dr. Gabriella Duran-Blakey.
Thank you, and thank you, Henry. What an incredible young man he is. He is a reminder of why we do this work. And we are here today because we share a sacred responsibility, passing the torch to the next generation. As educators, families, and community members, our job is to make sure that when our students reach for that torch, they have the knowledge, the skills, the confidence, and the vision to carry it forward. This is my third State of the District address. So this afternoon, I want to do something just a little bit different. I want to tell you about a school district that is on the cutting edge of delivering world-class opportunities for the students that it serves. A district where aspiring nurses learn in simulated hospital labs before entering real clinical settings. Graduates can go on to sit for the nursing board exam, and after passing that exam, step directly into careers that can pay more than $66,000 a year. A district that partners with trade unions and pre-apprenticeship programs, giving students a head start toward careers as plumbers, electricians, drywallers, and other skilled tradespeople. A district with a rigorous International Baccalaureate program, where students conduct research that stretches the imagination. A district where students can get a jump start on college by attending a high school that is located on a college campus, taking classes alongside college students, and graduating with certificates, associate degrees, and enough credits to enter the university as a junior. And that's just scratching the surface. It has a K-8 integrated arts school that empowers students to think like artists, nurturing curious learners who solve challenges through hands-on collaboration. It provides a free musical instrument to every student who wants one, ensuring that no student's passion for music is stifled by cost. It offers K-12 pathways on STEM and engineering, sustainability, and more. Students can study world languages, including Navajo. There are opportunities for students to explore careers, earn industry certifications, participate in paid internships, and discover possibilities that they may have never imagined. And this remarkable school district isn't in Chicago. It isn't in New York. It isn't in Austin. It is right here in the state of New Mexico, and it is Albuquerque Public Schools. And as the superintendent of this district, I am incredibly proud to say that the opportunities available to our students today are second to none. So, President Tomorito, members of our Board of Education, students, colleagues, families, and community members, the state of our district is strong. But strong is not the same as finished. And we are not finished. We are not resting on our laurels, but we are building the next chapter of Albuquerque Public Schools. Our responsibility is to make sure that every student, whether they are a child of doctors and engineers, a student who has lived in Albuquerque for generations, or a newcomer to our country, has an opportunity to discover their strengths and build a future. That is why we opened APS International High School last year. This high school serves refugee and immigrant students and draws strength from the extraordinary cultural and linguistic diversity that they bring to our community. It is designed to create a supportive environment where students can learn, belong, and prepare to become career-ready, active members of society. And that is why we are transforming the high school experience through the academies of Albuquerque. Working with the United Way of North Central New Mexico, we are transitioning our 13 comprehensive high schools towards an academies model that connects rigorous academics with real-world career pathways. We piloted 3 freshman academies last year, and this year we've launched 6 more. And we're building pathways in fields that are ranging from healthcare and engineering to business, public service, digital media, and the arts. These aren't just new programs. They represent a new way of thinking about the high school experience. We want our students to be able to answer a fundamental question: why am I learning this, and where can this take me? The Academies of Albuquerque will help students see that connection, because our North Star is simple. We want every APS student to graduate ready for what comes next. And that brings us to the profile of a graduate. Our profile of a graduate describes what we want each of our APS students to know and be able to do when they leave us. That work has never been more important than today. We are entering an era of artificial intelligence that is changing the nature of work at a pace that none of us can really predict. We don't know what every job in the future will look like, but what we do know is the kinds of people that our world needs. People who can think critically, people who can solve problems, people who can collaborate, people who can adapt, and people who have the perseverance and the self-confidence to keep learning when the answer isn't so obvious. Those aren't skills that students only need in high school. These are skills that we need to nurture from preschool through graduation. Let's take a moment to see what this looks like.
What does it mean to be a graduate of Albuquerque Public Schools? It means you're equipped for your future, and that preparation begins with our profile of a graduate. It serves as our North Star, the defining skills we want every graduate to carry with them. Whether they are walking into a university lecture hall, entering the military, or starting their very first job. These are the 10 traits that make up an APS graduate.
We are critical thinkers. We think deeply about the world around us.
We are problem solvers. We create solutions for real-world challenges.
We are good communicators. We express ourselves clearly and effectively.
We are engaged citizens. We contribute to and support our community.
We are socially and culturally aware. We respect and value diverse perspectives.
We are advocates. We speak up for ourselves and those around us.
We are innovative. We turn ideas into something meaningful and new.
We are driven by a growth mindset. We believe in our ability to grow through effort and perseverance.
We are collaborative. We work together and learn from one another.
We persevere. We overcome challenges and keep moving forward.
These are the skills we are developing today. Skills that will prepare us to succeed and become tomorrow's leaders. We are APS Rising.
And those students are pretty incredible, and they are the reason that we are here. Our commitment to those students begins with a strong academic foundation. We are focused on ensuring that students can read at grade level, analyze complex information, and develop the mathematical reasoning that they need for the modern world. But a world-class education is about more than just test scores. It is about helping young people develop their inner compass that they need to navigate life. Perseverance, self-efficacy, social awareness, curiosity, confidence. Whether a student is challenging themselves through advanced placement classes or international baccalaureate courses, earning an industry certification, completing an internship, or achieving the bilingual seal, we want them to leave APS knowing not only what they can do, but who they can become. And that is why we are redesigning the student experience at every level in our schools. In elementary schools, programs like Genius Hour give students the opportunity to follow their curiosity and dive deeply into the things that they love. At the middle school level, the Next Education Workforce Initiative is creating a more student-centered environment where teachers collaborate to meet individual needs of students and use project-based learning to make school relevant and engaging. And across the district, we have implemented programs to help students transition to middle school and to high school by connecting them with older classmates who can help them find their footing and get involved in school. And these things may seem like small things, but we know that belonging matters. When students feel known, feel seen, supported, and connected, they are more likely to engage, attend, and succeed. We spent the last few years building the foundation, but now it's time to accelerate. And acceleration requires investment. A few weeks ago, we opened the new Duranis Early Childhood Center. We transformed an under-enrolled historic school site into a state-of-the-art facility dedicated to our youngest learners. But this isn't simply a beautiful new building. It's a commitment to our youngest students and their families. It is the first early childhood hub of its kind in APS history and a collaborative lab school in partnership with the University of New Mexico and Central New Mexico Community College. It represents what is possible when institutions come together for children. Last October, we opened the rebuilt Sandia Base Elementary School on Kirtland Air Force Base, which replaced a 75-year-old building with modern learning spaces designed for our military-connected students. Made possible through a partnership involving the Department of Defense, Congress, and our local taxpayers, it sends an important message to our military families in Albuquerque that we see you, we value you, and we are here for you. We've also invested in innovative K-8 schools. Beyond Janet Kahn's School of Integrated Arts, we've expanded our portfolio to include Coronado Dual Language Magnet School, which prioritizes service learning and project-based instruction through a vibrant two-way immersion program, and Corellis K-8 School, home to a STEAM lab and a dynamic arts education. Looking ahead, we are set to break ground on a new West Side School for special needs students, a project that was approved by voters in November of 2025 and on track to open in 2028. For some of our most vulnerable students, this will mean shorter bus rides and a school specifically designed around their needs, with sensory-friendly learning spaces, life skills studios, and specialized supports for them. And thanks to our voters, we will begin our construction on the new career technical education facility that will open next fall. This center will use private and public partnerships to prepare students for high-demand careers in construction, healthcare, automotive repair, and other fields. And through the Camino Collaborative, APS is working with CNM, Sandia National Labs, and other partners to create an advanced manufacturing and innovation hub that will give students hands-on STEM experiences and new pathways to college and careers. But this is more than workforce development. This is about giving young people a pathway to a successful, prosperous life right here in New Mexico. But all of these programs, pathways, and buildings mean very little without great people behind them. A beautiful school is just a building without a great teacher that is inside of it. A great curriculum is just paper without an educator who knows how to bring it to life in the classroom. And the best strategic plan in the world doesn't matter unless people are willing to make it happen. And for too long, APS, like other districts across our country, has struggled to fill critical positions. So we decided to grow our own. We are working with the University of New Mexico, Central New Mexico Community College, the Albuquerque Teachers Federation, and other partners to make that happen. Our teacher training and residency programs allow aspiring teachers to learn alongside experienced educators while earning a paycheck. We recently expanded that work by partnering with UNM and ATF to launch New Mexico's first school counselor residency program. And our 16-year partnership with UNM continues to prepare future school leaders. We're even reaching out into our own high schools through Educators Rising, which is encouraging APS students to return to our classrooms as educators. This is what it means to build a homegrown workforce, and it's working. I am proud to report that we started this school year with the lowest number of teacher vacancies APS has seen in more than a decade. We are deeply grateful to our state lawmakers, our governor, and lieutenant governor who's here with us this evening for investing in this work. Because when we invest in educators, we are investing in our students. And when we invest in our students, we are investing in Albuquerque's future. And along the way, we need to stop and celebrate what our students and our staff are accomplishing. 9 APS schools exited intensive state oversight last school year, and Highland High School and Rio Grande High Schools exited the designation after sustained gains in graduation rates. Pajarito and Manzano Mesa led our district in reading growth, while San Antonito and Mission Avenue showed significant growth in math. Mission Avenue, Comanche, and Marie Hughes Elementary Schools made our top 10 growth list in both reading and in math. Our students earned more than $300,000 through internship programs last year. Inez Elementary School was named a National Magnet School of Excellence. Cleveland Middle School earned its International Baccalaureate certification. We had 53 new National Board certified teachers, the largest number APS has had in a single year, ranking us second in the nation. And these aren't just statistics. This is proof. This is proof that our students are capable of extraordinary things. This is proof that our educators are doing extraordinary work every day. And it is proof that APS is moving forward. Now, let's be honest. APS does face challenges, and so does every school district in America. Chronic absenteeism, enrollment declines, school safety, financial pressures. We have a lot of work to do, and we are doing that work. But those challenges do not define Albuquerque Public Schools. Our aspirations define us. We can acknowledge what is difficult without losing sight of what is possible. Because if all we do is talk about what is wrong, then we miss the incredible opportunity to build what is next. And I am much more interested in building what is next. And this is where you all come in, because we can't do it alone. No school district can, no university can, no business can, no government agency can. No one institution or individual prepares a child for life. We can only do that together. So I have a challenge for everyone in the room and everyone that is watching. If you are a parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, family friend, encourage your student to come to school every day. If you are a business owner or an employer, help us provide internships, mentorships, and real-world experiences for our students. If you are a part of a community organization, help us connect our students and families with the resources that they need to thrive. If you are an educator, continue challenging us to make learning more relevant, engaging, and meaningful for our students. And if you're simply a member of this community, help us tell the story. Because there is an incredible story being written every day in every classroom, in every school at Albuquerque Public Schools. As educators, we are society's architects. Every day, we are laying the foundation for the people who will become our doctors and dentists, teachers and lawyers, engineers and architects, mechanics and plumbers, artists and entrepreneurs, police and fire chiefs, lawmakers and community leaders. The generations of educators who came before us helped shape the people leading our community today. And now it is our turn. The torch is in our hands. And someday, we will place it in the hands of our students. But the question is, what kind of torch will we give them? Will it be bright enough to illuminate their path? Will it be strong enough to withstand the challenges ahead? Will it be warm enough to remind them that they do belong? That is our responsibility. And to our parents, your encouragement is the spark. To our business and community partners, your mentorship is the fuel. To our educators and staff, your dedication is the flame. And to our students, the future belongs to you. We are here to make sure that you are ready for it. Ready for college, ready for careers, ready for service, ready to lead, ready to build, ready to imagine something better and then make it real. Because this isn't just about next school year. This is about the next generation of Albuquerque. And we are Albuquerque, and we will rise together.
Child walking into a classroom for the very first time. Hesitant steps, quiet wonder, the start of a journey filled with possibility. From that moment on, they are surrounded by people who help shape their future. Families encourage them, teachers inspire and challenge them, and an entire community helps create the opportunities that allow them to grow. By the time these students finally cross the stage at graduation, they carry more than a diploma. They carry the lessons, beliefs, and encouragement of everyone who invested in their success. Many will grow up to serve the very community that helped shape them. A Cibola grad becomes Albuquerque's police chief. A Van Buren middle schooler goes on to become the superintendent of New Mexico's largest school district. A Lowell elementary student becomes an entrepreneur and local business owner. Others become professional athletes, respected judges, successful CEOs, talented musicians, nonprofit leaders, Amazing doctors, adventurous pilots, caring nurses, and trusted architects. Their paths may be different, but what they all share is an APS education and the opportunity to inspire the next generation. The greatest legacy is not what we achieve for ourselves. It is the hope, opportunity, and confidence we pass on to those who follow. At APS, we pass the torch.
Thank you for your partnership. Thank you for your passion. And most of all, thank you for believing in the future of our children in Albuquerque.
Thank you, Superintendent Duran Blakey, for those inspiring remarks. I'm excited about what the future holds for students like me and for students across APS. Now, we're going to continue the conversation and talk about the future of education in Albuquerque. To lead that discussion, please welcome Marisa Magallanes, President and CEO of the Albuquerque Community Foundation. In her role, Marisa works closely with people and organizations across our community to help make Albuquerque a stronger place to live, learn, and grow. Please welcome Ms. Magallanes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Do I have to really bend forward? Emily, give me the sign up. Yes? Okay, good. I'm Marisa. It's a pleasure to be here with you all and celebrate this third annual APS State of the District, and just really thank all of you as community members for being engaged, for caring, and for showing up. So as Superintendent Blakey said earlier, we're going to do something a little bit different. So I would like to introduce you to some young people. I might need this instead. Up here. So what I just love is looking at these faces and realizing the powerful impact of leadership, of mentorship, of all the things that turned these three beautiful shining faces into these three people on stage with us this afternoon. Yeah, let's give them a round of applause. So in the spirit of lifelong learning, I'm not going to read you their very impressive, wonderful bios, but what I am going to do is share with you in their own words their responses to a prompt that we asked. And the prompt was, in the spirit of lifelong learning, what is something about your own journey, an experience, interest, challenge, or pursuit that people may not know about you, but that has shaped how you learn, lead, or see the world? So I'm going to give you a little more insight into who these people, these wonderful leaders are as people, now that you've seen their slightly embarrassing children photos. So we're starting with President Tracy Hartzler of Central New Mexico Community College. And President Hartzler shared, I studied art, philosophy, history, literature, and politics in college. That taught me to approach complex problems from multiple perspectives, to work across different cultures and find values to find solutions that benefit the broader community. Welcome, President Hartzler. Next, we have Christopher M. Goodrich, Dean, UNM College of Education and Human Sciences. And Dean Goodrich shared with us, one experience that continues to shape how I learn and lead is our college's ongoing engagement with the Yazzie Martinez education equity case. Over the past 3 years, as the UNM College of Education and Human Sciences has welcomed many new faculty members to New Mexico, and to support their effective transition to the college, we've hosted conversations with attorneys involved in the case and with Wilhelmina Yazzie herself to help faculty better understand its significance for New Mexico students, schools, and communities. He continues, even though I have heard these presentations multiple times, I learn something new each time. They remind me that effective leadership begins with listening, learning, and staying connected to the experiences of people we serve. The conversations continually recenters me on why we do this work, to support our future educators and to help ensure that every student has access to the educational opportunities they deserve. That experience has reinforced my belief that learning is never finished. No matter your role or how much experience you bring, there is always more to understand, and that understanding helps us lead with greater purpose, humility, and commitment. Welcome, Dean Goodrich. They said I could twist this, so I'm gonna try here, okay. And finally, Dr. Gabriela Duran Blakey, Superintendent, Albuquerque Public Schools. In Superintendent Blakey's own words, one experience that shaped how I learn, lead, and see the world was attending diverse middle and high school at Van Buren and Highland. My friends came from many different backgrounds, and some experienced significant challenges, including living in hotels. Despite the differences in our circumstances, we all valued education and had high expectations for ourselves and one another. Those experiences taught me to value being around people who are different from me. I learn more when I listen to people whose backgrounds, cultures, and lived experiences are not the same as my own. Their perspectives challenge my assumptions, broaden my understanding, and help me see the world in ways I could not on my own. That lesson continues to shape my leadership. I believe diversity makes communities stronger and helps us make better decisions. I try to lead with curiosity, listen before making assumptions, and create spaces where people's experiences are valued. I also believe that a person's circumstance should never determine the expectations we hold for them or the possibilities we see in their future. Thank you, Superintendent Blakey. Let's give them all a big round of applause. Okay, I'm supposed to time keep here a little bit, so I have to manage myself. Okay, so we're gonna start with President Hartzler. And President Hartzler, we're gonna talk a little bit around CNM, obviously, and it's serving students at many different stages of life and their career, including many non-traditional and adult learners. So can you tell all of our guests here today what you've learned about the importance of meeting students where they are and how CNM is creating flexible, responsive pathways to education and economic opportunity?
Sure. Well, first, thank you for allowing me to join you today. It's great to see so many of you, and I'm just glad you didn't see some other school page pictures. So this was the best and probably the least embarrassing, which is very telling of the rest of my collection. But what a pleasure to be here and certainly be surrounded by so many friends and supporters of APS and certainly supporters of Central New Mexico Community College and of the University of New Mexico. So we're really, thank you for being here and taking time out of your schedule. It's incredibly important that CNM meets learners where they are. I'd say that starts with respect. It's respecting our students of all ages, dual credit students to our adult learners. And when I say respect, it means recognizing many of them come to CNM with experiences already earned in the workplace, if they're a veteran in the fields, but they come to us with experience. It's important to recognize that. It's important to recognize their intent and what their goals are. It's very clear that we have goals and targets placed on our institution and how we need to perform and help our students succeed. But it's really important that we meet learners where they are, because they often come with incredible motivations, whether it's to get a new job, to get a different job, or really go to school because they want to be a role model for their family. They want to complete something that they started and they stopped, or they hadn't quite started yet. So it really starts with meeting learners where they are, because then once we can do that, we can give them we can develop with them the right solutions and supports to help them achieve their goals. If I just came in with a set system and a clear program and applied it to everyone, we would not have the strong results that we have. We need to do better. There are a lot of people who come to us in ways, and we really try to meet them where they are. They may need financial support, housing support, transportation, food, probably wellness services as well. We work on that in addition to providing quality programs, because ultimately we want to make sure that the learners who come to us with their intent and their goals are able to complete a quality program. We want to make sure they get all the supports they need to do that. We are not going to change expectations for them. Our employers, our community partners set really what the outcomes are for our students to succeed. Our job is to make sure we can provide them the just-in-time training or education and support to help them get there. So it's incredibly important that we continue as an institution to evolve because learners are coming, we have 6 generations in the workforce and coming up. So there's a lot for us to change and continue to adapt, again, so that we can shrink that time between the learner who has potential and what the opportunity is that they're seeking. So.
Thank you, President Hartzler. Yes, give applause. We got to have that encouragement. I'm going to stay with you for a quick second. And we were standing in the back listening to Superintendent Blakey's speech, and you gave a powerful call to community and asked us to stand beside you all. And so, President Hartzler, where do you see the greatest opportunity to build bridges between education, employers, and community partners so that really wonderful programs can be scaled across New Mexico?
I think it's really important that, again, we listen to our learners. We also listen to our community partners, which includes government, schools, our hospitals, all of our nonprofit organizations, and our employers. They are going to tell us what they want in their employees, in their workforce, and what they want to have and what they need to have to create a vibrant community. So when we hear what those elements are, then it's our call, and I'd say all 3 of our institutions, but many other institutions, to come forward to help with those, to help meet that change and to help meet the expectations. So I'd say that the way forward is, again, to listen to what others have said. We really know what many of those goals are in terms of workforce attainment, to improve wages, to improve labor participation, and our job is to help figure that out. And we can do that in a lot of ways that we're already doing, as the superintendent noted earlier, in partnership, but there's certainly many more opportunities for us to explore that.
Thank you so much. Dean Goodrich, I'm going to turn to you now. And before I get started, this question is going to be about supporting our educators, but just want to pause briefly and just thank all of our teachers working hard across APS and across the state. So let's just take a moment to recognize them and give them a huge round of applause. So Dean Goodrich, when you think about strengthening education in New Mexico, how do we build a stronger continuum from preparing educators and leaders to supporting them through their career? And what role can UNM play in developing the talent and the leadership that the sector and communities need?
Well, again, I also want to thank Superintendent Duran Blakey for inviting me for this incredibly important event for APS and appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all. In terms of your first question around the continuum, there's a real issue in New Mexico in that we don't think of education as an ecosystem. And so education as it's currently practiced is incredibly fragmented and siloed. And so there's a lot of great folks involved in the education system, but there's lack of coordination to really leverage and capitalize on the experiences, the skills, the education that many of our folks do have. In addition, as legislation's passed, a lot of times we don't think through all of the system's implications, whether it be at a school district and a higher education level, even within community. And so I think to strengthen the continuum is actually to look at education like an ecosystem and maybe take some signals from some other states that have actually built some of those ecosystems to be really successful. And so there's a number of examples, but one that I'm a little bit more familiar with is actually out of the state of Illinois, which actually created a P20 council that actually advises the executive, and that council actually involves a number of the different constituents involved in education. And so that would be, of course, school district partners, higher education partners, philanthropy, community partners, business, and all of those folks actually come together to talk about the different policy implications as they're being considered, so on the front end. And so they can work through, some of the downstream systems issues that you might face in education. And so in many ways, I'd love to see New Mexico do something that actually the superintendent did today, which is bring together partners to talk to one another so we can really think about how we move education forward. In terms of the second question with UNM, that also involves a lot of partnership. And there's some similarities actually with CNM. And so, we've built great partnership to train the educator workforce. In 2018, we created the first teacher residency program with Albuquerque Public Schools. And I know CNM also created a similar partnership, I believe, in 2019. And it's a full year clinical experience where our students, our teacher candidates, are in the schools they'll be working with, paid so they don't have to focus on part-time work, and so they can just focus on being effective teachers, starting the school year, ending the school year, and actually being in either the building or at least the school district where they're going to work into the future. And so that was such an effective partnership through our two different institutions that actually this moved statewide in 2022, and we now have a statewide teacher residency program, and we're seeing that we're training our teachers much more effectively. And so they're having better outcomes in schools. They're being retained more in the classrooms. And so we're seeing greater retention rates, not only for our teacher candidates, but also our cooperating teachers. And my director of licensure is actually here, Marjorie Krebs. She helps run that residency program. She talks to those cooperating teachers and they say, being with that resident for a full year, it sparked the passion again. I could see the passion of teaching and it kept them in the classroom. And so that, of course, was incredibly important. We learned from those lessons, and I heard the superintendent talk about this before in her speech, and we moved it to some other areas. And so UNM's also had more than a 15-year partnership for principal training, and we call it the ALL program. And actually this program, it's well known in the state. I think New Mexico actually cited it as the model program for principal preparation in the state of New Mexico. And so building on what we learned for teacher residency, the state built principal residencies a few sessions ago. And so that's been a wonderful way to support the state in terms of thinking educational leaders, because it's not just about the teachers. The leader of the school sets the culture, sets the tone, and they're a core reason if a student's gonna learn or if a teacher's gonna stay. And so I think that's been fundamentally important for the state of New Mexico. And I'm incredibly proud this academic year, through the vision of the superintendent and of course her wonderful staff, we built the state's first school counselor residency program, because we know the socio-emotional needs of our students, especially from the pandemic, are huge. We also know that we're in a huge behavioral health crisis in the state. There's not counselors throughout the state, either in the community or in schools. And our students need that service so they can stay engaged, they can focus on their education. And so I'm incredibly proud to work with the superintendent to have the state's first school counselor residency program. And so those partnerships are some of the ways that I think we can support.
That's something to celebrate. Let's give that a round of applause. So a second question to you, and shifting just a little bit, we're also hearing a lot in the community around the science of reading and mathematics and those important approaches and programs. So can you talk a little bit, Dean Goodrich, about where you're seeing promising practices and what it will take to translate research into stronger outcomes for students?
Yeah, there's a number of promising practices relative to both the science of reading as well as the science of math. There's a long, comprehensive volumes of research relative to the science of reading. And so really at this point, it's more around the implementation of the science of reading than it really is anything else. And so we've actually seen a lot of progress and change in the state of New Mexico. And so I've worked with my other higher education partners. I know we've all worked incredibly hard to shape and reshape our curriculum. And over the course of the last few years, through some communities of practices, we've actually re-envisioned what our science of reading curriculum is. And so there's a national group called the National Council for Teacher Quality, NCTQ. They actually release every 3 years letter grades about how well higher education institutions perform relative to the science of reading. And I'm very proud to say that in the state of New Mexico, they only review 4-year programs. But in this year's study, 8 out of the 9 institutions, including UNM, received A letter grades relative to their training in the science of reading.
That's wonderful. Thanks so much. Oh, keep going. Were you going to add something else?
So, in terms of other promising practices with the science of reading, though, one thing that our faculty have thought to be vitally important is to respect the cultural and linguistic diversity of the state of New Mexico. And so, yeah, absolutely. Yes. And so as we've continued to train folks around the science of reading, we've paid particular attention to, and what does this mean in a second language? What's the needs for multilingual learners as well as for students with disabilities? And so we've taken what we know from the national research and really applied it towards our New Mexico communities, which is supported. Now, the science of math is a little harder. There's a little bit, there is a volume of research relative to the science of math. It's not as robust. They haven't been engaged in that for as long as the science of reading, but there's still a lot we know relative to the science of math. And in this last year, there was a legislative bill, Senate Bill 29, to actually really influence what both school districts would do as well as higher educations would do around the science of math. I think there's a lot of promise there, but there's still a lot of opportunity. Because I think there were some gaps actually relative to the bill, and we need to really support that policy might catch up to research. And so within the particular bill, there was some expansion around how we teach math, and so additional credit hours towards the teaching of math. But the one thing that was not attended to was actual math content knowledge for our teachers. Currently, the state of New Mexico only requires 6 credits of math education for anyone moving into elementary school. But if you look at some of the national groups that study this, NCTQ, again, as well as the Association for Mathematics Teacher Education, they have different schemas around what you might need to know. And it's actually probably closer to 8 or 9 credit hours worth of math and some deliberate instruction in particular areas for folks to be successful. And so the one thing I'd have to say around the math is that hopefully we can catch policy up with the research and really support our teachers so they can know the math and feel confident to be strong math teachers.
Sounds like a really good charge for that council you talked about creating that we need, and so maybe that can be early on the agenda here. Superintendent Blakey, you talked a lot in your speech about growing our own talent. And so I want to have you maybe expand for all of us here today about the work that you're doing to build stronger pathways for students as they transition from high school into college, career training, or other workforce. And what does it mean to make sure that they're really prepared?
Thank you. It was much easier to just sit and listen to my colleagues than have to answer the questions. So I was getting comfortable. But I do think that that's important because a lot of times we forget that our work is all centered around humans, human interactions, human behaviors. And a lot of times I think in education, we try to simplify things to make it kind of more concrete when really it's all about human interaction. And when we think about that and we create pathways for students, a lot of students don't know what options are out there for them because they don't know what the opportunities are. And so some of it is just opening our students' eyes to some things that maybe some of us had as a child, where we may have had parents that kind of introduced us to work in a different way, to see work as a place where you give back, or to see work as a place where it fulfills you. But not every child has that same way of growing up. And for some of our students, they see work as something that's a struggle, something that caused a lot of stress, something that was a job where parents were juggling 3 or 4 jobs. And so it isn't something that they see necessarily as, when I get out of high school, oh, I want to go do this, because it doesn't seem like something that's fulfilling. So creating pathways is really, how do we open eyes to mentorships for students? How do we have students really find ways that they have opportunities to have mentors in the community, that they see what their talents are? Nobody wants to do something that they're not good at. So who are the people in the room and their teachers and the community members that see something in a child that maybe, in my case, they like to talk a lot, and some teachers thought that that was something positive that maybe I could give back in. But there are those things that we all see in children that we need to start seeing as assets. And so quickly, we always look at what the deficits are, and we forget that really all of our children come with assets. And if we lead with that, and if adults really start with the assets that each individual child brings, then we develop the mentorships. Then it leads to pathways. Then it leads to these opportunities that are in the community for students to really see what could be for them outside of what they know. Because a lot of our students don't know. And it's hard to have a dream of doing something that you don't know exists. You know, I think of something of, just growing up in New Mexico, any job that involved water, I probably would have thought, I don't know what that is. I don't know what an oceanographer is. I don't, so how do we, but there could be kids that were in my class at Van Buren that were fascinated by the ocean, but were never exposed to that as any type of career because they never knew that that existed. So we really have to work with our children and as a community on how we open up these ideas for our children and how we provide the opportunities, because once a child has that spark that they want to do something, they might not go to school because they love their math class. But they do go to school because they know that after school they get to go play basketball and they feel like that's something that makes them a better person and that gives them some value. So how we create those opportunities for us, for our students, is really important, because without that, our students don't know that their talents are even within them if we don't find it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Blakey. That's beautiful. Just a quick show of hands. How many of you were ever good at something the very first time you tried it? No shame, just raise your hand. I was terrible at golf the first time I tried it. Anybody? See, we're all lifelong learning together. So thanks for leading the way there. So I'm gonna stay with you for a little bit, Superintendent. It's wonderful to see leaders in our education ecosystem up on the panel, slightly color coordinated together. We really appreciate the synergy. But I want to ask you, how are the partnerships with UNM and CNM important to the work that you're doing, and what has made those partnerships successful?
I think the most important thing is that they rely on each other. So that's when you know that there is a deep partnership, because you can't do the work without one another. And it's really important to realize that as a community, because when I was a teacher, I taught high school, and I remember the teachers, we would all complain about what was happening in our classrooms, and we would always say, man, if the middle school teachers could do this, this would make our job a lot easier. And then when I was working in middle school, they would say, if the elementary teachers would do this, this would make it easier. And then you realize we're all doing this together. It's not about pointing blame to one institution, one partner, one grade level, another teacher, another school, perhaps in a feeder pattern. But it's really, how do we wrap our arms around the humans in our ecosystem to really provide these opportunities for them, and realize that the child in the video that is in kindergarten is the same child that's going to go through our system that perhaps can be then at CNM, that can perhaps be at UNM. And we don't realize what we're doing influencing the next generation, we're all doing together. Because to our families and to our children, the institution doesn't matter as much as the value that you're providing to the individual. And I think that the more we're able to create this ecosystem as partners within the city, within education, and we don't think of it as that it's of a blame, but how do we build on each other's assets? Just like I talked about with building on a child's assets, our institutions all have assets that we can build upon. But we can't do it by ourselves. And the community doesn't see us. They see their child as a child that they want to be of value to the community as they grow up, and they're relying on our institution. And it doesn't matter what the name or the logo is of the institution, but they're relying on all of us together to prepare this next generation. And so it's really important that we rely on each other in that way. And I do feel very fortunate that when we all work together as institutions, we all provide a different lens. We also provide a different value. We all provide a different place in somebody's life. But together, we can make that so much stronger for our community, where we're not seeing it as multiple bureaucracies that families or individuals have to try to navigate, but how we build that so that we build around them and they don't have to navigate us as bureaucracies, but we can build a better community as we work together.
Thank you, Superintendent. Now, to your colleagues, Dean Goodrich and President Hartzler, would love to just hear your perspectives on this beautiful ecosystem that we keep referencing here today, and the partnerships, and what have been some of the keys to success, or areas that you think might be opportunities for improving. And I'll ask President Hartzler to go first.
I would build on a couple of points that the superintendent shared earlier in our comments, which I can't tell you how excited and supportive C&M is of the academies of Albuquerque. I think that is one of the biggest steps forward and one of the most significant catalysts for engaging schools, colleges, business owners, employers, agencies. There is no reason we shouldn't be behind that, because it absolutely recognizes learners where they are at any point in a system. It brings together and leverages the assets that all of us share, whether it's a physical asset like this. We have many of those throughout the region. It certainly leverages business relationships and our systems of data. But when I say our business relationships, I mean that because the guidance that we get and what's needed from the business community really should be influencing significantly our curriculum, whether it's in high school or in any of our colleges. It would be a waste of effort if Sandia created another quantum curriculum at Highlands if we have one at C&M, or that they've already developed with us. That doesn't mean you don't change the curriculum to, again, meet learners where they are, but you absolutely should leverage the expertise of those relationships. And that's why I think that's just one of the most significant initiatives that we have. There are certainly many more, but I also am excited that the school board is here. I don't think there are members of my governing board here, but I will note that our leadership, or the individuals I work for, are very clear that we need to do this in partnership. That's why we were last Friday at another school district in the area, opening a shared career technical campus and a second building on that campus. It's why tomorrow we're going to recognize and celebrate the opening of our Film and Digital Media Center along with the state's Media Arts Collaborative at the Rail Yards. Again, the partnerships are critical because we have so few resources to waste. We don't have time to waste. There are so many people who are seeking opportunities and so many students who are seeking applied, hands-on, relevant learning experiences that frankly help them complete high school. That's where we get at our vacancy or our absentee issues, right? If we can make this more relevant and connected to where students are, and all of us in this room have that responsibility, and I'm really pleased that we are continuing some of the work that we're doing with our school district, not only in Albuquerque, but in other school districts, because we know that's really what's going to continue to make our community more vibrant.
Thank you, President Hartzler. Dean Goodrich, what about you? What are your perspectives on the partnerships?
Well, I know time's short, so I want to echo many of the things that my colleagues up here already shared. I mean, I think the partnerships have been so fundamental because we can have those really deliberate conversations to say, what do we need in our curriculum so it's relevant to support our future teachers? What should be relevant for those teachers who wish to advance in their careers? What do our educational leaders need? And so having that ongoing conversation with the districts really helped us to reshape our curriculum so it could be much more authentic to the actual work within schools. Another partnership that we had that I thought was absolutely wonderful, also inspired by Marjorie, was the Lobos at APS Day. Because my faculty are great, but some of them haven't been in a classroom for 2 years, 5 years, maybe 10 years or longer. And knowing how the pandemic so dramatically has shaped what education looks like now, having the opportunity for at least once a year to come in, to shadow someone who's teaching something that you might be teaching someone to teach is so incredibly important to understanding. So what does that look like now? How can I reshape my classroom so it better reflects the reality on the ground so that my students are more prepared when they're someone's teacher? And so I've just really appreciated that and all the honest conversations with the district, even when, people have called me and said, Chris, do this a little bit differently. Can you start that now?
Right now. So we're nearing the end of our time, but I want to ask a couple final questions. And so first, we've really talked a lot about the ecosystem here. And as we were prepping, we had this, it's not a light bulb moment, but it was a poignant moment around that the people each of you often serve are the same people at very different points in their lives, just like your little pictures up there earlier, and now here you are today leading institutions. Oh, thank you for bringing those back. And we've talked a lot about how important thinking about education as a holistic ecosystem is. So I'm going to ask each of you just kind of rapid fire, and we'll start with Dean Goodrich and then go to President Hartzler and then Superintendent Blakey. If Albuquerque and New Mexico could get one thing right, just one, over the next 5 to 10 years to strengthen this ecosystem that we're all buzzing about, what would you want it to be?
So all the deans and directors across the state of New Mexico meet monthly as part of a larger group, New Mexico Association for Colleges of Teacher Education. We recognize in the Yazzie Martinez suit that we need to reshape what teacher education looks like because there are many variable paths to become a credentialed educator. There's a traditional path, there's an alternative path, and even across those different pathways, there's still a great deal of variability around what's instructed, what not instructed, how many clinical hours. And so this last year, we actually worked together, my co-chair Jesse Chenvin from CNM and myself, with our partners to actually create inaugural New Mexico teacher education preparation standards that we're hoping that the state might consider in either the next legislative session or rule, so that we can have a more consistent way of training our teachers regardless of what pathway, regardless of what program, regardless of what district that they're going into, so that our partners like Dr. Blakey can ensure that there's a consistent product. She knows what she's expecting when she hires someone to work in her schools. And so I think if there's one thing that we as a state could do right is to actually endorse and move forward our teacher preparation standards, which would make us the 31st state in the country with statewide teacher preparation standards. I think it's about time.
Thank you so much. Yes, round of applause. We're getting some good action items here. President Hartzler.
I'd like us to see more, I'd say comprehensive or consolidated pathways. And I say that because we have students, yes, who generally will go through the progression of grades, but we have parents who come back for teaching or for education and learning. We have graduates, like a third of our students at C&M have bachelor's degrees. Learning is going on all the time. People are in our systems and out of our systems all the time. It isn't just simply a step up from APS to C&M, APS to UNM. It's very, I don't want to say circular, it sounds like there isn't progress being made, but because individuals need training and education and upskilling all the time, no matter what profession they're in, we need more seamless pathways or understandings where people can step into education and learning, particularly once they leave elementary school or middle school or high school. And honestly, we really need serious data alignment to be able to show where we're succeeding, where we aren't. And when I say that, not only in the classroom, but also in the workforce. I know more of that's coming along from the federal government and the state, but we need it. Well, we needed it before. We absolutely need it now. So I hope that we can actually get aligned, because it'll be able to show and help us focus our energy and our effort where the attention's most needed.
Thank you, President Hartzler. Superintendent Blakey.
I think that we need to create more user-centered systems. And by that, I mean that it's really hard for people to navigate our systems unless you know the system, and then it works really well. And I think that in all of our institutions that happens, and how can we really create it on the user side that we break down the isolation and that we make things more predictable for families and for individuals who are trying to access us. I think that in New Mexico and Albuquerque and in all of our institutions, we all have so much to offer, and everybody is doing such good work, but we still have a place where it's who you know and how you know to get there to access it. But it exists. But it exists as a privilege. And we have to break that down in our community, that it's not a privilege to be able to access these systems and these opportunities that are there to make our community stronger. And I think as the leaders of the institution, it does start with us, and we're all working really hard to create that place where we build on each other's assets in that way, and we break down these barriers that people have to go through sometime to access such great things that we have to offer in our community. And coupled with that, I'd like to add that we also really need to focus on how we speak about our children and about our schools and about our community. And I talk about that a lot just because I think it impacted me as a young child when people would talk negatively about my school or my community or this idea of like you have to get out of it to be good. And we have to break that down because we have such great things to offer in our schools, and we're creating this unintentional, self-fulfilling prophecy for so many of our students that is really harming how we grow as a community. And I really urge the adults to talk positively, especially around the youth, about what makes their school, their teacher, their community, the university, the community college, the whole city, what makes us stronger instead of always talking about the negative things. Even if it's said with sarcasm, sometimes that sarcasm is really impacting our children in negative ways where there's this idea that they have to get out to make it big. And I know for myself, when I go and talk to, especially the girls at Van Buren, I really want to be a model for them to know that they don't have to leave to be successful. You can be successful in Albuquerque with the education you're getting at Van Buren, with a family that you have that's supporting you, with your neighborhood. And the more that we can talk to our youth about that and we build this community of a user-centered idea of how they can go to the community college and to UNM and access all of this without knowing the right person that they had to call to be able to access it, I really think that we can see a change in our community.
Thank you so much. And just, yes, round of applause. Just as a good reflection point, when Superintendent Blakey talked about speaking positively, I saw almost every single person's head go like this. So let's take that energy out into the community. Okay, last one, I promise, rapid fire. We're gonna start with President Hartzler. Knowing what you know today, what advice would you give to your younger self up on the stage in the spirit of lifelong learning?
Just ask more questions and take some risk.
Ask more questions, take some risk. That's pretty good. Thank you. Dean Goodrich, what about you? What would you tell your younger self?
That there's a group of thoughtful, caring, supportive folks in those schools who can support you, and so take advantage of that.
Beautiful, thank you. And Superintendent Blakey, close us out.
So my rapid fire is kind of a longer story.
Okay, we'll indulge you.
When I was in elementary school, yes. So when I was in elementary school, my teacher at Sandia Base had you like write your name and you had to write like a word that goes with every letter. And of course I have the longest name with like double letters and I just can't think of anything. And so for he said inquisitive. And I was so angry because I didn't know what that word meant. And he was always telling me to stop talking and stop asking questions that I really thought it was like something negative. And so I really wish I could go back to my former self to embrace that my teacher used the word inquisitive as a positive word, and that being inquisitive is good, that asking questions is good, being curious is good, and it's not something that you have to shy away from for kids who have a lot of questions or like embrace your need to be inquisitive.
Thank you, Dr. Blakey. Thank you all for being here this afternoon, for allowing me to moderate this fun panel. And I just want to say, Dr. Blakey, you said something that struck me. Work is centered around humans. Work is centered around humans. And seeing all of your childhood photos up here also reminds me that you all are in really incredible leadership roles in our community at a really incredibly complex time. So thank you for your leadership. Sometimes I think we forget as heads of institutions that you all are these young children, or these young children. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you all for being an engaged community. Let's give them all a round of applause. All right, back to you, my friend.
What an evening. Thank you to everyone who helped make tonight so special. our speakers and panelists, our student musicians and performers, our color guard, and everyone who works behind the scenes to bring us together. And thank you to all of you for being here and to everyone watching from schools, offices, and across our community. We're grateful that you all joined us. The State of the District is one of several community engagement events hosted by the APS Board of Education throughout the year. Coming up are budget community conversations on October 13th and 14th, and a listening session on advocating for your student on November 16th. You can scan the QR code on the left side of the screen to learn more. Before you go, we'd also love to hear what you thought about tonight's State of the District. Please scan the QR code on your program or on the right side of the screen to take a brief survey. Thank you for being part of tonight's conversation and for being a part of APS. Have a great evening.